I encourage you to watch this video all the way to the end. While researching for a 1-minute YouTube short, I came across Keith Edwards' powerful video about MSNBC host Lawrence O'Donnell's broadcast of The Last Word. In this episode, O'Donnell delivers a scathing critique of the entire mainstream news media, including MSNBC itself. There are so many hard-hitting facts in his program that it's impossible to cover them all in just 60 seconds. That's why, for a change, I urge you to watch the full broadcast, which also includes exclusive footage of Vice President Harris speaking to union members at a rally in Michigan. Content that didn't make it onto the networks the moment it should have. Don't miss out.
Well, it was 2016 all over again today. Donald Trump spoke at his home in Florida for over an hour, and all of the cable news networks, including this one, carried it live, just like they all did repeatedly in 2016. It would be hard to find a sentence in what Donald Trump said today that did not include at least one lie. Some of the networks tried to play catch-up with fact-checking after Donald Trump finished speaking, but that, of course, is way too late and utterly useless. No network even attempted to fact-check every lie Donald Trump told. Every network has the capacity, especially with these wide screens we now have at home, to run a live scroll at the side of the screen, fact-checking many of Donald Trump's lies. Not all of them, that would be impossible, but many of them as he speaks. For example, when Donald Trump said, quote, Kamala Harris is not smart enough to do a news conference, the networks could have simply put on the side of the screen, Kamala Harris is a graduate of Howard University and University of California Hastings College of Law. Of course, Donald Trump proved once again today that he is not smart enough to do a news conference by saying something that was provably false in every response he gave to every single question. Most of those were knowing lies by Donald Trump. But many of the falsehoods Donald Trump spread today in his responses came from that vast well of stupidity that takes up most of his brain. The stupidest person who has ever won a nomination for president stood there in front of those reporters and said his opponent isn't smart enough to do what he was failing at right in front of those reporters. And to make a bad news coverage situation worse, none of the networks, none of them, carried Kamala Harris's speech live after the Trump appearance. None of them. This network brought you the last few minutes of Kamala Harris's speech live, but was actually doing Olympics coverage when the speech began and kept doing it. And so, as a first order of business in this hour tonight, we will correct that mistake by presenting to you in full and unedited, as if live, everything that Kamala Harris said today in her speech in Michigan, which all of the networks knew was coming. They knew what time it was coming. They knew how to cover it live, and they didn't, after giving Donald Trump more than an hour of live coverage on all of their networks. It's 2016 all over again. The same mistakes are being made. I have never seen an industry slower at learning from its own stupid mistakes than the American news business. And you cannot expect them in the next 89 days to figure out what they haven't been able to figure out in 9 years, how to cover a Trump for president campaign. One of the Harris-Walz campaign slogans now is, "We're not going back." But we just went back today. We went back 9 years in the press coverage of the campaign, the media coverage. Donald Trump gets credit from the people he lied to today for lying to them. They appreciate it. Reporters understandably and incorrectly believe that the most important thing a candidate can do is answer their questions. But they don't know what an answer actually is. Words spoken after their question marks are not necessarily answers and are never answers when they come from Donald Trump. There are rumblings in the news media now about Kamala Harris as a presidential candidate not doing what Donald Trump did today stand up in front of reporters and take their questions. And some of the tinier minds in the news media continue to give credit to Donald Trump for standing up and lying in response to every single question they ask. A lie is not an answer. Donald Trump never answers reporters' questions, never. Anyone in the news media who tells you that Donald Trump has answered reporters' questions and Kamala Harris hasn't is lying to you. And they're too stupid to know that they're lying to you because they don't know what an answer is. Donald Trump answered no questions today. None. He stood up there in a room where he made sure the reporters' questions could not be heard by the TV audience. And so when he spoke, the TV audience had no idea what the question was. Most of the questions were terrible. The silliest possible questions you could ask. Questions about campaign strategy. What a waste of a moment with a convicted felon former president to ask questions like that. Here's one question. Mr. President, can you tell us a bit more about your upcoming interview with Elon Musk? That was an actual question to Donald Trump today. Question. What do you think of Kamala Harris not picking Josh Shapiro as her VP? Most of the questions were wasted questions like that. And so Donald Trump could just ramble about anything that came to mind, including lying, of course, about the size of his crowds. And the biggest lie he now tells about the size of his crowds is the lie about which of his crowds was his biggest crowd. He now claims that the crowd that gathered to hear him try to overthrow the presidential election on January 6th was his biggest crowd ever. It wasn't. Investigations have estimated that that crowd was about 53,000 people. Today, Donald Trump said that the biggest crowd he's ever spoken to, that was it. He actually had a much bigger crowd on his inauguration day, but that was still a smaller crowd than Barack Obama's inauguration day, so he had to lie about that, too, at the time. Today, Donald Trump said that his January 6th speech attracted a bigger crowd than Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech in Washington in 1963, the most famous speech ever delivered in Washington by someone who was not president of the United States. Martin Luther King's crowd was 5 times the size of Donald Trump's crowd on January 6th. I know it can sound almost tedious that I am fact-checking Donald Trump's crowd size lies today, but that's the way Donald Trump wants it to feel. He has been telling crowd-size lies for 9 years, and he wants to wear the news media down to the point where they just accept it. And he has won because no one in that room fought him on that in any way today or on anything else. They did not fight a single lie that he told in that room today. It was the tamest collection of reporters asking questions that you could ever see. Are they afraid of Donald Trump? Are they afraid of the Trump campaign banning them from opportunities to have Donald Trump lie to them in the future? Now, I'm not advocating that reporters be combative with Donald Trump or anyone. I don't see the need for that. I really don't, even with Donald Trump. But how can you be so tame and timid in the presence of Donald Trump when you do this?
President, why are you confusing the names of world leaders?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
I did not share classified information. I did not share it.
With your ghostwriter?
With my ghostwriter, I did not. Guarantee you did not.
But the special counsel said in the report
no,
that
he did not say that.
Okay.
He did not say that.
But, Mr. President,
let me answer your question. The fact of the matter is, what I didn't want repeated, I didn't want him to know, and I didn't read it to him, was I had written a long memorandum to President Obama why we should not be in Afghanistan. And I was multiple pages. And so what I was referring to, I said classified. I should have said should be private because it was a contact between the president and the vice president as to what was going on. That's what he was referring to. It was not classified information in that document. That was not classified.
Donald Trump did not hear that sound today. He did not hear that screaming. If Donald Trump gets back in the White House, he will never hear that sound from those people, never. If Vice President Harris stands in front of those same reporters, do you think they will be as tame and reserved and polite as they were with Donald Trump today? Or will it look like this?
The president, I can tell you, has seen a neurologist 3 times, as it's connected to a physical that he gets every year that we provide to all of you.
That's a very basic, direct question.
Wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
8 times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
Not what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait, no. No, wait a minute. Ed, please. A little respect here, please. So every year, around the president's physical examination, he sees a neurologist. That's 3 times, right? So I am telling you that he has seen a neurologist 3 times while he has been in this presidency. That's what I'm saying.
We should have kept that video rolling because they kept yelling at her. You're not answering the question. They were outraged. But she was actually answering the question. They don't know what an answer is. And what they were pursuing turned out to be a lie. The next day, not one of them had a single question about what they were just screaming about in the White House press briefing room, because there was never anything to the story that they were pursuing. It turns out a doctor who's a Parkinson's specialist visited the White House a few times, as that doctor had been doing for years before the Biden presidency, and that doctor never once visited the White House to treat President Biden. And all the wrath of those reporters in that room that you just saw, all the wrath that they put into those questions just evaporated, because they were completely wrong, and they never apologized for their misplaced anger in their treatment of Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. Not one of them dared to yell at Donald Trump today. Not one of them. Not one of them dared to yell, "You're not answering the question." So the special treatment Donald Trump gets from the Supreme Court and elsewhere extends tragically and harmfully, and always has, to much of the press corps. Here's what happened when Donald Trump was asked a good question by NBC's Garrett Haake. Question: would you direct the FDA to revoke access to mifepristone? Here is what Donald Trump said to that yes or no question, which, no matter how many times you read this answer, is not an answer. Trump: sure, you could do things that would supplement, absolutely. And those things are pretty open and humane. But you have to be able to have a vote. After all, all I want to do is give everybody a vote. And the votes are taking place right now as we speak. But it's a very good, there are many things on a humane basis that you can do outside of that, but you also have to give a vote. And the people are going to have to decide. The words Donald Trump spoke to those reporters in response to that clear, simple, and important yes or no question were an insult to everyone in that room, and they took the insult. Nothing in those words was an answer, nothing. Donald Trump did not answer questions today. Don't let anyone tell you that lie, that Donald Trump answered questions. He did not. He never does. Anyone who tells you that Donald Trump answered reporters' questions is lying to you. And anyone who tells you that is not smart enough to know what an answer is. Donald Trump is not smart enough to answer questions. Anyone who then tells you that Kamala Harris has to answer questions from reporters because Donald Trump already answered questions from reporters is lying to themselves and to you, and you must not allow them to do it. Please crush them on social media when they do it, because they will do it. Now, I hope Kamala Harris answers questions from reporters and from voters, But she has absolutely no greater obligation to do so because of what Donald Trump pretended to do today. The first time Kamala Harris does do a press conference as a presidential candidate, the reporters that were assembled today should all agree among themselves to apply the same rules that they decided to use today. No shouting, no follow-up questions, and no interrupting each other, and no interrupting the candidate, no screaming. Now, I wouldn't suggest those rules if the reporters hadn't just imposed them on themselves today in their participation in what Donald Trump turned into a charade. Now to what the networks did not show you today. Vice President Harris in Michigan today at a United Auto Workers Union Hall, where the union's president, Shawn Fain, repeated his wholehearted endorsement and the union's wholehearted endorsement of the Harris-Walz ticket for president and vice president. As usual, vice presidential candidate Tim Walz spoke first and introduced the person he called the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris. Here is what you should have been able to watch as it happened live this afternoon.
They will ban abortion across this country no matter what Congress says. Now, look, damn right it is, and I don't know why this is so simple or so difficult for these people to understand. You know how things work really well in life and really well with your neighbors and really well in communities? When you mind your own damn business, things work better. Stay out of our business. Stay out of our business. He's not fighting for you. He doesn't know you. He doesn't care about your family. And his running mate is just as dangerous and backward as he is. So look, we know who they are. The choir's ready to sing. This campaign's about the future, your future. Vice President Harris sure knows that. She grew up in a middle-class family. She goes to work every day making sure families are on the front so that they can get ahead and they can get into the middle class. She believes in something so simple and so beautiful. And when we go to these rallies, I say it too. People drive, they sit in the sun, they get there, they stand next to their neighbor for one simple reason. And just like the vice president says, they believe in their hearts in the promise of America. They believe it. They believe it. So, sisters and brothers in the UAW, how great is this going to be? Please join me in welcoming the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
To be in the House of Labor. It is good to be in the House of Labor. Thank you. Oh, please have a seat. Please have a seat. Okay, so let me just say, first of all, can we hear it again for Tim Walz? Isn't he spectacular? You know, I have to tell people have been asking, well, what do you and Tim Walz have in common? And I said, well, you know, a whole lot. You know, we grew up the same way. We grew up in a community of people, you know, I mean, he grew up in Nebraska, me, Oakland, California, seemingly worlds apart, but the same people raised us. Good people, hardworking people, people who had pride in their hard work, you know, people who had pride in knowing that we were a community of people who looked out for each other. You know, raised by a community of folks who understood that the true measure of the strength of a leader is not based on who you beat down, it's based on who you lift up. Amen. And you know, there's some perversion that's happened in our country in the last several years, where there's a suggestion that somehow strength is about making people feel small. Making people feel alone. But isn't that the very opposite of what we know unions know to be strength? It's about the collective. It's about understanding no one should ever be made to fight alone. That we are all in this together. You know why I fought my entire career for unions and labor? Because I understand the concept and the noble concept behind collective bargaining. And here it is. Here it is. Fairness.
Yeah.
Fairness. It's about saying, hey, in a negotiation, don't we all believe the outcome should be fair? I mean, who could disagree with that? The outcome should be fair. It should be fair, right? But when you're talking about the individual and a big company, and you're requiring that one individual to negotiate against a big company, how's that outcome going to be fair? So collective bargaining is about saying, let the collective come together around a common experience, which at its core is about dignity and the dignity of labor.
That's right.
And then let the people come together to negotiate so you make the balance. And then the outcome will be fair. And isn't that what we're talking about in this here election? We're saying we just want fairness. We want dignity for all people. We want to recognize the right all people have to freedom and liberty to make choices, especially those that are about heart and home, and not have their government telling them what to do. Our campaign is about saying we trust the people. We see the people. We know the people. You know, one of the things I love about our country? We are a nation of people who believe in those ideals that were foundational to what made us so special as a nation. We believe in those ideals. And the sisters and brothers of labor have always fought for those ideals. Always fought for those ideals. And we know we are a work in progress. We haven't yet quite reached all of those ideals, but we will die trying because we love our country and we believe in who we are. And that's what our campaign is about. We love our country. We believe in our country. We believe in each other. We believe in the collective. We're not falling for these folks who are trying to divide us, trying to separate us, trying to pull us apart. That's not where the strength lies. And there is that. And so I say to all the members of UAW, and Sean Fain as the first who I talked to about this, I am so deeply honored as a lifelong supporter of union labor for Tim and I to have the endorsement of UAW. So deeply honored. Because you walk your walk. You walk your walk. And what we know, like we have talked about, we got 89 days to get this done. You know, the one thing about all of us is we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is good work. The thing that we like about hard work is we have fun doing hard work. Because we know what we stand for. And that's a big part of this campaign. You know, when you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for. We know what we stand for, and we stand for the people. And we stand for the dignity of work. And we stand for freedom. We stand for justice. We stand for equality. And so we will fight for all of it. And the bottom line about UAW is that I also know, and I'll say to all the friends watching, look, even if you're not a member of a union, you better thank unions. Say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to the sisters and brothers of UAW for all you are and all we will do over these next 89 days. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.
We can't let it be 2016 all over again. We all have to continue to try to improve the way we cover this presidential campaign. That's the lesson of the day.
Share, comment, and subscribe for more quick election facts.